Question 16 from our end of preliminary exam, or 16a, asked students to explain the dynamic nature of health. It's worth 4 marks. Go and have a look at the syllabus, and what we'll notice is that the dynamic nature of health comes under our very first dot point, which would have been our first module, meanings of health. And I know we would have done some work on this in the classroom for the module, the relative and dynamic nature of health. We'll go and have a look at our sample answer. As it says here, it says the dynamic nature of health refers to the constant fluctuations of health status during life. Excellent. This labels health as always changing, which is dynamic, and is never the same for a long period of time. So a very good explanation there of what dynamic nature of health is, and then he supports his answer with an example. An example of dynamic health would be someone who is physically healthy, free of disease or injury, eats right, experiences a disease in the family which would automatically affect his emotional and spiritual health. The status of the 5 dimensions of health are constantly changing due to age, experiences, and habits, etc. So he's included an example to support what he was saying in terms of the dynamic nature of health. The concerns that I had for this question here was that, as you can see with this example, this student's been able to implement some of the dimensions of health into support what he's saying, but still gave an example an explanation of the dynamic nature of health. For this answer, students just went straight into the 5 dimensions of health, and that's all they spoke about, which isn't really relative to the dynamic nature of health. That's the difference I need to look at there. In your answer, I really wanted to see words along the lines of fluctuation, changes over time, those sort of words to show how the meaning of dynamic and that you understood it and knew what it was about. The other thing was that you had to include an example, as this student's been able to do here, which is why it's a 4 out of 4, to support what he was trying to say. So that's the main things there. Was this question was that students were confusing the dynamic nature of health a little bit with relative nature of health. Remember, relative being to another period of time, whereas dynamic being constantly changing, and also with the dimensions of health. So that was question 16a.